These are the most painful punishments in human history.
The most painful punishments from around the world.
God. Okay. Whoa. Don't punish me. I don't want to be punished. Don't show me grimy fungus feet in the first 2 seconds. Sorry. I just had way too much caffeine earlier today. I gotta relax.
On this list, them suckers tortured half-truths out of people for over 350 years during the highly unexpected Spanish Inquisition between 1478 up until 1834. Now, when you're performing painful public persecutions for such a long time, you're gonna come up with pretty colorful ways to do it. Ways to inflict maximum pain to ensure that you extract those dubious confessions from those filthy non-Catholic heathens. So it's no wonder that history was blessed with devilish devices designed to do just that. You had the Spanish spider, the Spanish collar, the Spanish tickler, very different from the French variety, the Spanish donkey, and the star of this segment, the Spanish boot.
Oh my God. I feel like back in these days, Jeffrey Dahmer would be hailed as like the ultimate being. If he could teleport back into those days, he definitely would. And what is the tickler? He said he's not going to talk about the tickler because there's something worse, but I think being tickled to death would literally be the worst thing ever. I hate being tickled.
Originating somewhere during the Inquisition times, the Spanish boot was a very basic, yet very effective interrogation tool. 4 planks of wood and a few bits of metal. You got your braces for holding the wooden splints and sharpened metal nails to make you squint. The legs of the victim would be secured in place between the 2 inner free-moving braces. The 2 outer planks are secured to each other, preventing any outward movement. Not that you would want to, because, you know, sharp nails and such. Once the victim was sat down, a large wooden wedge would be placed in between the inner planks, locking the victim's legs. And I'm sure your imagination is a few steps ahead here. The interrogator equips his iconic giant hammer and rears back, preparing to strike. Are you sure you don't want to confess your crimes? Because this pulsating sack of meat is about to treat you like one of them carnival tests of strength.
Gosh dang, he looks like me.
With one swift blow from the hammer, the wedge drives the inner boards outwards, lacerating your legs, shattering your shins, and crushing your calves.
Oh my God!
Pain is pure agony. And that was only the first strike. Additional slams from the mallet reduce your legs down to something resembling burger meat. Remember when you could walk like 30 seconds ago?
On this channel, we have been diving into some horror things. Every time I watch one, I regret it, and I tell myself never again. I'm not doing that ever again. And then I end up doing it again. I bring that up because I genuinely don't know if I can watch those videos. This one, though, I don't like that.
Me too. Now, despite the Iberian identity, there were many variations of the Spanish boot throughout history. The Scottish first dabbled in boot torture even before the Spanish, tightly binding victims' legs in saturated leather. The bindings would then be heated over an open fire, shrinking the leather and constricting the legs to the point of snapping bone. The French even got in on the action with their own version. The victim would be bound and gagged on a wooden chair with both feet placed in a single oversized iron boot. It would then be filled with either boiling water, boiling oil, or even molten lead. And if
that's not even torture, like you're just killing him at that point. Like, what are we talking about? You stand in a giant boot and they pour lava in there. I thought torture was like a lot slower. Like, I don't know, like, oh, I'm gonna give you a paper cut if you don't tell me your Roblox password, for example. Not, I'm gonna put you in a giant boot and pour lava in there. What could even be like so encrypting back then? Like, they didn't have passwords for things. They didn't have banks with giant contraptions to break in. What could you possibly be interrogating people for back then?
If you're unaware, pure lead melts at around 622 degrees Fahrenheit or 328 degrees Celsius. For comparison, just 2 seconds of exposure to 150 degree Fahrenheit water is enough to cause third-degree burns on human skin.
My gosh.
Victims of the French boot would have their skin and their muscles boiled off of their bones or encased in a big hunk of lead. Better get
I'm gonna throw up. Like, it gargles my stomach. I feel like my stomach is boiling right now. I don't know how I feel about this.
At least make up something convincing.
Abacanation. Abracadabra.
Oh, this shit sucks. You ever hear the term an eye for an eye? Well, the literal form of this would be the toe-curling, face-scrunching practice of abassination. Popular amongst ancient Greeks, Persians, and within the Byzantine Empire, abassination is a form of corporal punishment, meaning that the goal isn't death, but rather to teach the victim a lesson. In this case, how not to see anymore. That's because a bacination is the act of inflicting intentional or oftentimes irreversible damage to one's eyeballs.
Oh my god.
What the fuck? Your bulbous oculi have a myriad of...
I wonder like how normal this stuff was back then, because the only thing really that we know about history is, well, history books and what was documented back then. And maybe back then the only thing that was like well documented was their torture methods. And so maybe we think that it used to be so normal for them to do that back then.
Nerves ready to send your brain big ouch signals the moment they detect discomfort. And boy, are they about to feel some discomfort. Although it was mainly used as a punishment for heresy or treason, the act of annihilating one's eyes existed all across human history. Perhaps one of the most popular examples of this was executed by Byzantine Emperor Basil II. After defeating the Bulgarians at the Battle of Cladion, Big Bad Basil had taken thousands of enemy soldiers hostage. He had ordered that the men be divided into groups of 100 and brought before him. It was then he had his men gouge out the eyes of 99 of the soldiers, sparing one who would be allowed to keep one eye. That lucky duck.
You guys see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that would never happen today. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, maybe I just don't hear about it. Maybe it does happen and I'm just very oblivious and ignorant. I've never heard of like the US. Like, don't get me wrong. We've done our fair share of bad things, but I've never heard of us taking 100 people and gouging their eyeballs out. Like, what are we talking about? That is insane. That's absurd. Maybe in like some like Game of Thrones type movie that's happened. But if this is real, like if this actually happened, that's horrifying. That is horrifying.
Be the one to lead his now blinded comrades back to their respective commanders. Now, according to legend, this mass blinding was conducted on 15,000 men, granting Basil II the vicious title of Basil the Bulgar Slayer. But how would this blinding actually be performed? Well, it's really up to how the person doing it felt that day. Traditionally, a bacination was carried out by jamming a red-hot iron rod into the ocular cavity, essentially melting the eye from the skull. Other flavors of removal included scooping with a spoon-like device, slitting with a blade, using preposterous pressure to pop them like pimples, or just leaving it up to good old chemistry. Now, if you really pissed someone off, you would be strapped to a chair while corrosive liquid, usually boiling vinegar, was placed in soluble cups and positioned over your eyes. The corrosive agents would slowly eat away at the bottom of the cups, left to drip into your eyeballs, which would painfully dissolve away. At that point, you'd be luckier to die than to survive. But couldn't they just close their eyelids? Oh, you mean these? Yeah, they cut those off too.
As I was watching this, I was thinking of other ways to shut off some of your senses, because obviously sight is one of your 5 senses. Anyway, I was thinking, what do you guys think of this one? You put cement in someone's nostrils and then you clog them up so then they can't breathe out of their nose anymore, forcing them to breathe out of their mouth. I hate breathing out of my mouth. I find it, quite frankly, disgusting.
Don't worry, it was only a little painful. See what I did there? No, you didn't. That's fine.
Next up, the tiger bench.
Strap in for this one, because that's exactly what's about to go down, and your legs are about to go up.
Oh, God.
This is the tiger bench, a Chinese torture device popularly used in China from the Imperial Age up through today. That's right, the International Society for Human Rights, a German-based non-governmental non-profit organization, claims that multiple inhumane torture devices like the tiger bench are still used on prisoners in China to this day for
everything I said, bag it up, tie a knot, zip tie the knot, put a lock on the zip tie of the knot, wind it up, and throw it out the window. I never look back on it ever, because apparently some of this stuff still happens today. What are we talking about?
Acting confessions or flat-out torture just because. It's true, probably. And the same applied to its use in the Imperial Age. During the times of the Ming and Qing dynasties between the 14th and 20th centuries, the judicial system required a confession to legally convict a criminal for their crimes, since forensics at the time weren't all that great. Unless you had notable status to sway public opinion, the perpetrator would basically have to be caught red-handed by multiple witnesses. He ran into my knife.
That actually is a point that I was going to bring up earlier, is maybe torturing was way more necessary back in the day because there was way less evidence. They didn't have cameras, they didn't have audio recordings, and so in order to actually get to the truth of things, they had to be very forceful about it. I'm not saying that's right, but I am just saying that's probably a reason why torturing used to be so much bigger. Because today, for example, let's say somebody goes into a Walmart and steals something. You don't have to take a knife to his eyeball difficult to figure out what he stole or if he stole it. You can just go to the security tapes and say, oh yeah, the big, giant, balding, red, strong, 6'4", handsome man is stealing the Oreos in aisle 5. Clear as day. He shoved it inside of his butt cheeks and walked out of the store. Whether or not that's a true story, I will not disclose. But point being, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is right there.
But what do Tiger Bench do, you ask in poor English? It's very simple. The victim is delicately slammed onto a wooden bench in a sitting position, their hands and ankles bound by ropes, and their mouths gagged with, I don't know, probably a piece of cloth or something. They would also have their torso and thighs secured to the bench to prevent any unwanted thrashing from the pain that they're about to experience. One by one, bricks or wooden slabs would be placed under the victim's piggies, slowly elevating them higher and higher while the rest of their body remained locked in place. Now, unless you have the Tibio Taylor talent of a turkey, you can see where this is going. With each addition of a brick, your ligaments in your knees become hyperextended.
Yeah, what are your knees snap?
Forcing your knee joint beyond its natural range of motion.
Oh!
If any of you less than limber people remember the ungodly sit and reach box from your middle school gym class, just imagine that, but someone grabbing your arms and pulling you with all of their might. Then you might just get a lick of what that pain must feel like. The continuous hyperextension eventually leads to the shattering of the kneecaps and the splintering of the leg bones, utterly destroying muscles and tendons, rendering the victim's legs completely useless. Trust me, although this guy seems untroubled, inside, he's screaming. And if that weren't enough, prisoners would be bound in this position for days on end, to the brink of starvation and full sleep deprivation from the ongoing pain. Not only from the hyperextension, but from physical beatings to the rest of their body if they continue to refuse to confess.
Like, that's not enough? You snapped his knees in half, making him completely immobilized for the rest of his life, and now you're still whipping him with the belt? Come on, tell me the secret formula! Tell me the secret formula! Seriously, like, what could have been that important back then? Oh my god. And this technique is still used today? China! Oh my god, what are we doing over there? Good lord. Sagittal sawing.
Despite what the chill demeanors on the...
How did I get here? How did every single decision I've made in my life lead me to this moment here where I'm staring at a man naked, butt cheeks out, legs spread, tied up to a pole, upside down, getting sawed in half? What decision did I make that led me here? And how do I go back in time and undo that? That's what I would do. If I could go back to one moment in time, it would be to that decision and change it. Instead of going left, I'll go right so that I don't end up looking at this man.
As faces express, getting sawn vertically in half is not a pleasant experience. Although the act of sawing has been present throughout many different cultures in history, ancient Roman and Chinese versions were mainly done transversely or at the waist. But some sadistic buttholes thought, nah, not painful enough. Let's try a different axis. And you know what? Let's hang them upside down too. We'll start shredding the sack, split the crack, go down the hull and to the skull. The method is pretty self-explanatory. A victim will be hoisted up upside down with arms and legs secured to two posts, usually with their dangly bits out.
I'm so sorry.
The condemned would then have a big ol' saw ripped through their bodies like a slice of birthday cake. On the bright side, the poor soul would most likely be long dead or at the very least unconscious before the saw ever got that far thanks to the excruciating pain and severe blood loss. Documented cases of this particular path of punishment are rare, but some stories have survived. The most known case being that of Simon the Zealot, one of the 12 apostles of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you've ever seen Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, he's the less detailed guy all the way at the end of the table getting ridiculed by these two fine gents for asking, "When can we eat?" Very little is known about poor Simon at all, being only passively mentioned in the Bible. History states that he preached across Egypt and Persia, with the latter being the place of his demise. Apparently, the Persians weren't too happy with the door-to-door preachings of Simon, so much so that they saw to his end.
My God.
Literally. According to some historians, around the year 65 AD, at the age of 60, Simon was spread in two while spreading the word of the Lord. For his dedication to the J-Man, Simon was made a saint in the Catholic Church, with many depictions of him holding a long saw, similar to the one that ripped through his being. Ironically enough,
why is he known as the Saw Man now? I mean, I get it. He was sawed in two, but that's like Steve Irwin. The GOAT, by the way. I love Steve Irwin. That'd be like making a statue of him riding a stingray. How is that not so disrespectful? And that's how this guy's known. Like, Steve Irwin is known as the crocodile guy. But that'd be like every image and statue and piece of art that was dedicated to Steve Irwin. He had like a stingray under his arm, and they were buddy old pals. No, that's what got him killed. Oh god, the ants. What even is this
Oftentimes we find that nature is already well equipped with possible torture resources, and it doesn't even have to be something large or intimidating. Sometimes it's the small things that pack the biggest punch.
Okay.
Well, turns out that quite a few groups of people around the world took advantage of nature's blessings. Like this little guy. This is a Pseudomyrmex triplerinus, but you can call it a little ouch. This agonizing arthropod is a venomous species of ant most commonly found in the northern areas of South America. These ants contain a cytotoxic venom, which if you remember my little toxins rhyme from my worst jobs in history video, you'd know that cytotoxins cause extreme cellular damage and painful swelling, making it a perfect tool for devastating torture. For this section, we actually have a very modern use case. Back in 2014, a group of Bolivian villagers in the province of Ayopaya apprehended a pair of teenagers accused of stealing several motorcycles. Since the run-of-the-mill judicial penal system wasn't deemed effective enough, the villagers took matters into their own hands.
Oh my god.
The two upstanding criminals, aged 18 and 19, were strapped to a tree infested with venomous ants for 3 days. The young men writhed in pain for hours and hours on end, sustaining bites all over their bodies from head to toe. Chests were chomped, calves were crunched, nipples were nipped, and balls were bitten. It was only after being found by one of their sisters that the young men were freed from their pincer prison. Well, also after all of their relatives coughed up about $3,700 in cash as compensation for the bikes that were stolen. Gotta pay back your debt after all. Both men were rushed to intensive care, with one requiring dialysis to survive. But I bet they learned a valuable lesson. Don't take shit that doesn't belong to you.
See, that's an awful torture method, but it's one that I can back at least more than the others, because maybe he didn't go into it yet, but it seems as though there's no permanent damage. Like the ones where you turn your legs into a meat grinder, that's a no-no for me. The one where you jump into a giant boot and they pour lava in it, that's a no-no. No. The one where they take a flaming hot knife and stab your eyeballs out, no. And don't even get me started on the saw. This one at least seems like you can survive and continue living life afterwards. You just learn a very harsh lesson.
There have been other claims of ant torture throughout history, though, as a warning, these are more anecdotal than confirmed. It is said that the Apache people of the southern US and northern Mexico regions were capable of committing horrible acts of violence, but hey, when you're forced off your land, what are you gonna do? One such act was taking prisoners of war and burying them neck deep in the earth, allegedly near anthills containing red harvester ants.
Ooh, not
With
red
a simple
ants.
prod
Oh,
to the
God.
hill, thousands of ants pour out to defend their home. And being the nearest target, looks like you're the culprit. The red harvester ant latches onto your skin with its strong Chad-like mandibles
This hurts
and
bad.
proceeds to repeatedly stab you with its stinger. Once stung, pheromones are released, chemically signaling other ants to swarm you. Your lips, your mouth, your ears, and even your eyes are all susceptible to the stings. The intense pain from just a single sting has been described as feeling like being prodded by a searing hot needle, lasting up to 8 hours. So it goes without saying that thousands of those would really suck. But don't worry, it's well documented that around 500 stings would be enough to kill a human.
Wow.
Now, you're probably getting all itchy just thinking about them things crawling all over you, aren't you? Well, now you are.
The trials.
Our last stop on this journey takes place in the big old continent of Africa. Having dealt with colonization for centuries, the many countries of Africa are no stranger to pain. In fact, they're pretty good at dishing it out, especially to each other. Now, the concept of trial by ordeal is not exclusive to Africa. It's been seen across Europe, Persia, India, and Cambodia as well, but this segment focuses on Africa. Why? Because that's how I wrote the script and that's how I'm editing this video, so... Okay, so the idea behind the trial by ordeal is to determine the guilt or innocence of the accused through various means of torture. If you survive, you're innocent. If you die, you're guilty. Not that it mattered anymore, but there were many different ordeals to be trialed through. These are gonna be a bit rapid fire, so stick with me. And speaking of which, the first one is the trial by fire. The accused would either be forced to walk along a length of hot coals, hold scalding hot metal, or retrieve items from cauldrons of boiling hot oil. If the victim showed no visible signs of injury, they would be considered innocent. But that's just setting people up for failure. These examples of trial by fire have been historically documented across Togo, Nigeria, and Sudan. Next was the self-explanatory trial by poison. The accused would drink toxic concoctions consisting of various local poisons. In Liberia and Ghana, victims enduring the trial would be forced to ingest the bark of the sassywood tree. All right, which one of you drank all the sassywood juice? I don't want to drink that stuff. Nope. Was it you? The bark of the sassywood tree contains erythrofleine, a powerful poison that can fuck up your heart. But as long as you regurgitate that slop out of your system, you're right as rain, and considered innocent. Similarly, some prisoners in Sierra Leone or Nigeria would drink a solution made from the calabar bean, which contains physostigmine, an acetylcholinesterase inhibitor. If you've never seen my chemical weapons video, this is just a fancy way of saying that it causes life-threatening seizures and a loss of your respiratory control.
It is pretty hilarious that back in the day, like I said earlier, they didn't have proof of who was guilty and who was innocent. So if there were two people or multiple people involved in a certain incident, they would just give all of them poison, and then whoever survived apparently was the innocent one. They just left it up to the gods to decide who was innocent and who was guilty.
One final trial would be the trial by water. Popular in pre-colonial Côte d'Ivoire, the accused would have their hands and feet bound and be tossed in the local river. Those who were able to break free of their bindings and swim to the surface were absolved of their crimes, while those who sank like stones were doomed to figuratively and literally drown in their guilt. Talk about washing away your sins.
Well, shout out to Chat History. He makes amazing videos, and as gory and creepy as this one might have been, it was still pretty cool. And if you guys enjoyed and want me to watch more videos like this, leave a like, subscribe, and click right here.